Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Connections, the Heart of Early Childhood podcast. We are so happy that you've tuned back in for another fabulous episode. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about class. And we have a couple of members of our classy team here with us today. And so, myself, Misty Hunter, and my fabulous counterpart,
Shara Foster.
are here to talk with Melissa and Anita. So before we get going, Melissa, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you and how long have you been with us here at CREC?
My name's Melissa LeBaire, and I have been with the CREC. This is my second year, but I've been in education for over 30, and I love this job and what we're doing. And I really feel like my job became clearer when I got trained on class and started doing class observations.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that. Yes, I'm a big fan of the class observation tool. I remember when I first was trained on it myself, I told my supervisor at that time, I told her, this is it. This is the evaluation tool that we should be using, not just in pre-K, but pre-K through 12th grade, because this is it. So we'll talk more about that as we get going. How about you, Anita?
Hi, my name is Anita Hernandez. This is my third year with CREC, and I am really enjoying learning more and being more a part of this class process, right? Whether it's the observation or the feedback or just the learning piece. I think when I first started to understand class, it just took me it took me a while just to get it all in and understand the big picture. And now that I have it, I do think that it's a really high quality tool that we can use to support teachers and so they can support students.
I agree. I agree. And I love that you said it's a lot because it is.
Mhm.
It's a lot. It's expansive. There are so many different areas, so many different dimensions and domains to think about when the rating scale is, more extensive than other assessment tools being on a scale of 1 to 7. There is a lot that goes into class, not only to be a certified observer, but also as a teacher receiving the scores. It's a lot to kind of dive into and think about. And so that's definitely true. And it takes time. It does take time to kind of figure it all out. Um, Anita, I'll stick with you for a moment. How did you become involved with the class tool?
Last, well, originally just being a part of Series C and a coach
Sure.
and being trained to be an observer. And then after that, this past summer, Valerie reached out to ask if I wanted to be a part of the team, the Classy team that helped facilitate the learning for class. And I was really excited to be a part of that because it gave me an opportunity through another training just to have a deeper understanding and understand like the resources that are available even on Teachstone. Um, and so that's how. And I and I feel like such a nerd now, but it's honestly made me so excited about it. I really feel like it's like you said, something that can be used as a tool in a lot of different areas and age groups. There's a lot there. Oh, and I think we can use it even with our own coaching. Sorry. Like if you think about creating a safe space for adults to be learning, creating an engaging environment for us, and then also that inspiring learning. I just, it kind of overarches a lot of different areas.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
agree. And I was going to say that I feel like I kind of got spoiled because I saw the class side as a teacher first before I came to CREC. And everything you guys are saying is so true. And just having that continuous opportunity for growth is so important. And I can't wait to hear your perspectives.
Great point, Shara. Thank you. And I also wanted to add that I've never thought of it for our coaching. I have never thought of it through that lens. And so thank you for bringing that out today, that you're exactly right, that if we want to think of for example, instructional learning formats and effective facilitation. I mean, those are some different things that not everybody responds to the same type of interaction. And so why would that not apply to our coaching as well? So very, very cool. Thank you, Anita. Melissa, how about you? How did you become involved with the class tool?
Very much the same way that Anita did. I took the class observer class last January. So no, yeah, in January of 2025. And then I went out for my first observations in April of 2025. And I loved that I was objectively grading interactions. That's grading. That's a horrible word for it. I was I was observing interactions and then looking for if they were, you know, filling emotional support, classroom organization, and instructional support, which I think that whole model is just so powerful because it's the heart and the little and the workings of the classroom and then the brain and like really focusing on those thought processes and how we are building critical thinking, which has always been really important to me. And I have to echo what you said, Misty. I think if I had had this training earlier, it would have been a better teacher in all my grades. I just love how important those interactions are, and I do apply it to my coaching. I can't help it because now that I've done the facilitator training and I've just been around it a lot since I got asked to do this in the summer. And Anita and I did a little presentation for our retreat, and she built this model that was really wonderful, that was circular, and it had emotional support, classroom and organization, instructional, around another circle that was the MOP, our menu of practices, PBC, and our PL, and how they're all interwoven. And it was such a visual for me that I still see it that way. Thank you, Anita.
Absolutely. I was going to say, even for Misty and I, who aren't part of that classy team, but we're just using the classroom assessment tool with our teachers and other teachers around the state, it becomes part of what we do in our everyday work. And like you were saying, Melissa, everything intertwined this year just makes it that much better for all of us. So thank you. All right, guys, I am wondering what is one thing that you wish all teachers knew about class? I'll start with you, Melissa.
Oh, I wish they knew how objective it was, and it's not just about them. It's about the whole classroom and the interactions between teachers and teachers to student and student to student, because I think they hold a lot of weight. And when I walk in and I feel them like nervous, I always want to try and alleviate that, but you can't really objectively. I mean, I try to be calm, and I just want to take that pressure off of them. It's as an empath, that's the hardest part. I don't want them to think I'm in there just to judge them, but rather to help them and observe interactions.
Absolutely. We all remember how tough it can be as teachers, right? To have somebody come in just to observe or visit or just walk through our classroom and how that can be nerve-wracking for teachers. So thank you for giving them that reminder, Melissa. Anita, how about you? What is one thing you wish all teachers knew about the class assessment tool?
I agree with Melissa that it's less evaluative and more supportive. And the nerves are natural when someone else is in your classroom for most of us. And I also think that teachers are doing a lot of this, a lot of the parts of class, and we're in there watching 20-minute snippets of their days. And it is everyone in the classroom, including children. And so I see the tool and the feedback as a beginning of a conversation with a teacher, of, okay, this is what we saw in that moment. Tell me more about how you incorporate that throughout your day. What are you more intentional about? What inspires you? Where do you want to look at? Right. And so it's less of a evaluative score and more of a way to just start looking at your instruction and where you want to focus or interact.
Absolutely. That's such a great reminder. Yeah, we definitely want all of our teachers to know that even when an observer is in their classroom, it's at 4 20-minute cycles. There's no way we can see and hear and know everything that happens throughout their day. So it's a great place to start that conversation. All right, Misty, what do you think?
Yeah, I was just going to add that one thing I share with my teachers that I work with is that nobody's going to score a 7 across the board in all areas over all 4 cycles. Is not going to happen. That includes myself, and other certified observers. Like it's not going to happen, and that's okay. The one thing that I really like about this tool is that it really shines a light on areas that we could do something different in if we determine based on class and other data points as well, other observations, or just ourselves knowing our classrooms. If class shines a light on a certain area, for maybe perhaps in instructional support, asking those open-ended prompts and language modeling, maybe class shines a light on that area, and it's something that I do, but I do maybe without the intentionality. It's just kind of part of who I am, and so having that light shown on that area helps me as a teacher look more into it. It doesn't mean I'm bad or I'm good. It just means this is something that we might want to think a little bit more intentionally about and learn more about. And for people like me who are lifelong learners and always want to gather more information, which I think is most of us as teachers, if I knew how to do something better or different, I already look into it and do better or different. And so
Right.
without a tool like class, um, I don't even know necessarily to look at a certain area more deeply. And so I love it for that reason. And I try to share that with my teachers and help them to understand that the scoring, the 1 through 7, the quote low in this area or whatever, area for growth, things like that are not negative at all.
No.
They're just things that we may want to think about more intentionally or learn more about to deepen our practices that are already great. So I don't know. I just felt led to add that.
Yeah, and it makes me think of one more thing I wish teachers knew that we went that as an observer, you have to go through pretty extensive training and recertification and fidelity checks and all of the things. So it makes it, we're able to check our bias. And when we walk in, we can be observers. And then once we're there, there's a protocol that we follow. We take the notes, we identify the initial whatever, I don't know. Anyway, and then you do confirming and then you do the evaluating and actually scoring. So it's when we're in there, we're doing part of it, but then when we leave, we do a lot of it so that
Absolutely.
we're really intentional about those scores and what we're seeing.
Absolutely. So that we're by the book.
Yeah.
Really.
Right.
I mean, literally by the book.
Can I
Um,
can I add to that really quickly?
please. Oh my
Because
gosh, please.
one of my coaches who was um, observed by Anita was a little sad that her scores had gone down, and she said, but in my feedback meeting, Anita explained that we're getting better as scorers, like because of all our extra training, and she made it that we're all in this together. Like, the CREC and their coaches are learning to be better about observing interactions, and then we're also better about how to coach too, helping with interactions. And I thought that was such a great way to go about it. So then anytime one of my coaches, I'm like, well, it's a whole group. Like, we're all together in this. And it's a jumping off point where we really want to feel like we're doing the best for our kids together. And it's really true. It just was a great perspective.
I love that.
Definitely a growth opportunity for all of us, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yes, and we're all learning more. We're all
Mhm.
learning more. The more we do it, the more we get into the material. Even us as observers are learning more. When I talk about moving into the material and just the specifics of class, this is a really great opportunity for me to ask for either or both of you to explain for us and our listeners the three class domains for teachers who may be new to the tool.
Go ahead if you want to, Anita. No. Um, so like I said before, the three major components are kind of like the heart, the gear, and the brain. So in emotional support, that's the spot where you're looking for strong relationships, a love for learning, and feelings of acceptance, a willingness to try new things. When students feel a strong sense of identity and their ability, and they're being helped and they feel part of they take risks. And so it sets the stage for the teaching. And then classroom organization, those are the skills that help them to regulate their own behavior, the ability to get the most out of each school day and have focused attention and an interest in learning activities. So it's the way you set it up, not just your classroom, but the whole learning environment with the interactions. And then the part that we really want to help focus in on, I think now in the state, as we look at like wanting to up the bar, if you will, and that's the instructional support, and that's helping children develop the problem solving, the reasoning, the thinking, the complex language skills, and it's also the teachers giving feedback to expand children's skills and knowledge. So it's those three things: it's the emotional support, the heart, the classroom organization, the gears, and then the instructional support, the brain.
I love those visuals. I absolutely love that you brought out the heart, the gear, and the brain, because that is a really easy way to remember those three domains and think about what is really encompassed within those. That especially the gear, thinking of a gear as being something that helps a system move like a well-oiled machine, and that really does encompass the domain of classroom organization. Not that the other two don't, they do, but those are very self-explanatory in my mind, at least heart and brain. But that gear is just what keeps things moving along. Was there anything that anyone else wanted to add about the three domains? Shara, what are your thoughts?
No, I love the way Melissa explained it. And like you said, Misty, those visuals are a great help for everybody who is trying to remember those parts and what is incorporated in each of those. So it makes me wonder, though, what is one area that might be misunderstood for teachers? Melissa, what do you think?
I I can see it two ways. I know my teachers need help with um, the instructional support, like doing those feedback loops, getting students to talk, and understanding um, what that looks like, in language modeling, and there's a lot of the coaching practices that we're using in the MOP that can help them to get there. So I think that we can have great lesson plans. We can be using the curriculum, but it's in those interactions where we really have to like dig deeper for that critical thinking. And I think that focusing on that is important. I also think, and as Misty was saying, sometimes we forget what keeps it moving, the cog. And I think for some of my newer teachers, like I feel like this is a way to show how like things like a daily visual schedule, or the importance of behavior management in the beginning of the year so that the students are set up for success. So I think in the I think sometimes both of those get misunderstood because whenever I'm around them, it seems like every educator loves kids. So emotional support's easy, but I can see the other two like getting a little bit more difficult to visualize or just do.
I can see that. And I think, like everybody has been saying, just having this, tool to help remind us of those important parts is essential. Anita, what would you like to add?
I think the piece that I've noticed the most in observing many different classrooms is the piece around regard for child perspective. I think sometimes it can be missed, specifically when we're observing, because teachers are working on interacting and interact, and they're like, I need to do this the right way, kind of feeling. And incorporating like the child's perspective, the piece around supporting children as leaders and decision makers is part of the classroom. Um, and just inviting and asking about their unique perspective. So it's a little bit of slowing down. Um, but I do think that was just one that I noticed we could just do some intentional talking and conversation about what that looks like for kids.
Absolutely, I agree. And I think too, a lot of times, the teachers I'm working with, like we talk about how our days get so busy and we're trying to get so much done and it's structured a certain way, and you think you have to get through this, to this page in your curriculum. But yeah, remembering the importance of, the children's perspective and following their lead and, giving them that opportunity to, show leadership and things is
Yeah.
so important in the classroom, and it helps things run more smoothly. So thank you for reminding us of regard for child perspectives. All right, Misty, any additional thoughts?
Yeah, I was just thinking that it also for me goes along with learning more about what that even means and looking at perhaps the Dimension Guide or the resources on Teachstone, because as a teacher, do I think that do I want to know more about what the kiddos are thinking? Do I care about their culture? Do I care about their family? Do I care about their perspective? Absolutely. But just because we care about it doesn't mean that we draw it out of them and that we interact with kiddos in a way that displays that. And it's not due to anybody not having a desire or not
Right.
having and not caring. It's due to perhaps understanding as a teacher of, yeah, I care about that, but how do I draw it out of them? And so that's when we see the class observation tool then filter into coaching, where
Mhm.
we have it in our coaching cycles and we have it infused into the menu of practices. Because now let's take that opportunity to learn more about what that means. And let's take this opportunity to practice through our
Mhm.
coaching cycles, practice implementation of certain things that we've seen in our class scores. So I just love that. Like, I hope our listeners are getting as much out of this as I am. I'm not gonna lie. All right.
Absolutely. And if there is something they want to know more about, I hope they reach out and let us know.
Absolutely, please. That we love to hear from you. All right. Um, I did have a question that I wanted to go to Anita first this time. And so we've talked a little bit about where we can, where there may be some misunderstandings, but what are some examples of things that you've seen that have been highly rated classroom practices more across the state, not necessarily specific, but what are some areas that you're like, wow, New Mexico teachers are knocking it out of the park?
I think some of the things that I noticed with some of the oral language development, how teachers they ask the questions and then consistently across the classrooms I observed, they repeat back to the student what they said and then continue on with questioning, which is just such a great skill when it's validating for the student and then it gives them an opportunity to go a little bit deeper. So I feel like that was a big strength. And the social emotional piece too, I do feel like there is a real connection between our teachers and our students as far as like they know exactly who needs this and when and how they like to join and enter the classroom and be a part of the classroom. There wasn't one single room that I was in that a teacher didn't understand individually what their students needed. And so that was inspiring to see.
Absolutely. And I noticed the same, Anita, that positive climate, emotional support, educator sensitivity. I mean, the classrooms I observed in as well across the state were just knocking it out of the park. And language modeling as well, just like you were saying, that oral language component, using some of those strategies like narration, expansion, recast,
Mhm.
um, pulling in vocabulary for these
Mhm.
kiddos. All of those things were strengths I noticed as well. And I can't help but also notice that those types of things are echoed in our professional development that we offer here at CREC and also echoed in districts and centers' goals for their programs. that they have. They have these foundational positive climate goals for their programs and their schools. There's a lot of oral language development that definitely feeds into reading and literacy development as goals for schools and programs across the state. And so I'm not surprised that those are areas that are strengths across the board. I wonder if now that we've really got strengths there, we might want to shift into a big focus on some of these other areas, keep the strengths that we have, and then look at another little area. Because one thing I see frequently is the same types of district and programs goals not necessarily being recycled, but just being held up again as important. And I completely agree. Yes, they are important. But when we see our teachers have got it, then let's add another layer on. How about you, Melissa? What are some things of highly rated classroom practices that you've seen across our state? Maybe something that's a little bit more specific.
Oh, sure. One thing that I was really excited about was that our classrooms are so culturally relevant. Being a special kind of conglomeration of humans in New Mexico, I loved how I'd go into the classroom and teachers were using both Spanish and English, or teaching Dene, or having, labels on the classroom, and which it's so important for students to have ownership in the room and for families to feel connected. I think New Mexico is like cutting edge on that. And also, I think that I've watched our teachers understanding that transition time is really important. And I know, like through Coach PD, and that we've talked about using that time, and it's in the classroom organization. So I would see teachers like waiting for the bathroom with like a little poster, and the students had to like say a shape or answer a math question and identify letters while they're in that downtime, and they're not letting 1 minute of teaching time go. And that's really really amazing to me. So I thought that was great. And then again, I just would echo the SEL, the social emotional. Those teachers I love seeing the breathing exercises that they're giving and helping students to regulate their emotions and not be afraid of them. Like, I love seeing them, help them to understand it's okay to have big emotions, and that this is what we can do with them, and we can talk about it. And, there's no bad or good, they're just feelings. And when you're 3 and 4, it's really important to hear that. So I love my New Mexico educators for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I completely agree. As you were talking, I was thinking about a couple of terms that come up like throughout the day. And our
Yeah.
educators really seem to be internalizing that throughout the day, that every opportunity is a learning opportunity and every interaction is a learning opportunity. And so these kiddos are little sponges that soak up all of this, and they love the representation of their families and their cultures, and they love learning, and they want to gain the knowledge, and they want to be big kids, and they want to be independent. And I love that our teachers are taking advantage of that for sure. Um, I also wanted to speak about the poster and the transitions and stuff. Just a little side note, that also supports behavior. If we're interacting with students during our transitions and we're keeping their minds and their hands busy, then they're not finding things for themselves to do to keep their minds and hands busy. So I just wanted to bring that out. Anything else that anyone wanted to add about that? Shara, what are you thinking?
I was just going to reiterate that too, taking advantage of those teachable moments and kind of not wasting any time going back to we have so much we want to do throughout the day, and taking advantage of every opportunity we have. So great. And I've also seen that with the teachers I've worked with across the state. We have some pretty amazing educators here. All right, ladies, to summarize our conversation this morning, what do you think is the biggest overall benefit that the class tool offers to children in the classroom? Anita, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts?
Overall benefit, I feel like that it offers to students, I think it gets to that piece of inspiring education, validating, not inspiring education, inspiring learning, I guess is what. And so helping students become excited about what they're doing for the day and validating that their feelings, their ideas, where they want to go are really important. I do feel like class supports those things that really support the child.
Absolutely. Melissa, what are you thinking?
I um I don't know. Amina said it so well. And I'm like thinking like it is that support, focusing on that support that is um how we need to shift our view. Does that make sense?
Huh? Yeah.
Awesome. Yes, absolutely. So thank you. So I feel like we're all in strong agreement that the classroom assessment tool is a valuable tool that will help all of us become better educators, increase learning potential for our students, and continuous growth opportunity for us all. So thank you so very much for sharing your perspectives. We appreciate it. Misty, we had some great guests today. Would you have anything you want to add for them?
I just want to add thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you for sharing your perspectives on class and on what you've seen as class certified class observers and certified class trainers. And we just really appreciate you both being here, taking the time out of your day and your schedule to chat with us on this very important tool that we have in our state to guide us in our continued improvement. And just to our listeners, please reach out. Let us know your thoughts on the class tool. Let us know things that you may still have questions or celebrations about, because we'd love to continue this conversation further with you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And we hope you tune back in.
See you next
Thank you,
time.
ladies. You did such good work.
See you next time.